So the learning objectives for our lesson are for students to be able to work effectively without being able to communicate with their peers, and also for students to be able to write a sequential storyline for each chapter they're given without being able to communicate with their peers. Finally, students will be able to work collaboratively and create a cohesive story from the individually written chapters.
So some key terms and definitions that we want to go over are point of view, which is the perspective through which a story is communicated; a bug, which is an error or problem in a process that prevents it from being successful. To debug is to systematically find and remove errors or problems from a process. For computational thinking concepts, we were going to talk about decomposition, which is breaking down data, processes or problems into smaller, more manageable parts; pattern recognition, which is observing patterns and regularities in data; pattern generalization, which is identifying and extracting relevant information to define main ideas while creating models of observed patterns to test predicted outcomes; and lastly, algorithm design, which is to develop the instructions to solve similar problems and repeat the process.
So to accomplish our objectives, we are going to do a game called Snowball Writing. So how the game works is there will be a jar or cup or something, and in the jar there will be random words. It doesn't matter what the words are, just random nouns and adjectives. So for example, we have consider, dance, school, oppose. There's random words, and what will happen is the kids will draw a word. Every student will get a different word, and they will then have time to brainstorm, roughly 3 minutes, and then 5 minutes to write a short story, about 5 to 10 sentences, that focuses on that word. So this is where we will encourage students to be creative and make their own story, but then after this time is up, this hence the name Snowball Writing, they will crumble the paper into a snowball and throw it somewhere across the room, and then from that point, another student will pick up the snowball, so everyone will find a new one, pick it up, unfold the paper, read the previous response, and then to that, they will have time again to brainstorm and come up with their own response using the first word they drew. So for example, say the first word they drew was execute, and the person before them wrote about spaghetti. Well, they would have to find a way to use the word execute to come up with their own response that makes sense with the previous response the person wrote to spaghetti. So the point of this is that we're encouraging students to work collaboratively with other students in order to make a final project that is logical and makes sense. So with this, we're going to integrate these computer science keywords and definitions. So for example, when they read the response from the other student, they will look for bugs. They will look for bugs in their work, spelling errors, grammatical errors, things like that, and they will debug these errors by fixing them before they move on. Another thing, point of view. They want to make sure that point of view stays the same throughout the responses so it makes sense and the story can be read in a clear way. Okay, so the game can just be continued on. In our instructions, we say that the student can put the paper into 4 different parts, whether that be folding or just drawing lines in 4 parts, and that can be sections for each of the responses, but really the game can keep going, time permitting, however much the teacher wants to allow. But the point is just, it's a fun and engaging activity for students to practice collaborative writing and also use these computational thinking techniques and figure out how computer science can be applied to more than simply computer science.